Hello, my name is Deborah Houghton. I am a CSU Pueblo student intern, and I am excited to share this fun activity with you guys that focuses on friction and our measuring tools. The standard is going to focus on which tools to pick in second grade, which measuring tools, and friction for motion in second grade. Alright guys, today we're going to be doing an activity called Let's Race. So we're going to start off by thinking about a time that we were going down a big hill. This can be whether you were in the car or you could be on your skateboard or scooter. Did you go faster or slower? I want you guys to write about your experience in your math or science notebooks. I'll give you guys a few moments here. I'll let you pause the video so you can write about this. Alright, so these are the materials that we're going to need not only to create this activity, but also to create the ramps that I have created. So we have our notebook or paper. This is going to be your math or science notebook, your pencil, your cardboard, hot glue gun, scissors, and then your measuring materials. So your ruler, I chose a measuring tape and yardstick. And then you're also going to need Hot Wheels cars or something similar to those. And then this is how you're building the ramps. Because we're using scissors and hot glue guns, I suggest that the parents and teachers do this. Students, you also need to remember that our ramp 1 is going to be 4 inches tall, ramp 2 is 6 inches tall, ramp 3 is 8, and then the distance or the length of our ramps are going to be 12 inches. So this is going to be the chart that we're going to create in our notebooks. So we're going to write our ramps right here on the left side. The first ramp, remember, is 4 inches. You can write that in to help you remember it. Ramp 2 is 6 inches, and ramp 3 was 8 inches. And then on the top, across, we're going to write our height of the ramp in inches. Make sure you're writing that so you remember which measurement we're going to be using. Distance the car traveled, and then also the tools that we use to measure our distance the car traveled. And then I'll give you guys a few seconds to pause the video and create this chart. Alright, and then we're going to be talking about what tools do I use for this activity. So when we're talking about the appropriate tools we need to use, I have provided the 3 measuring tape, ruler, and yardstick. It depends on which ramp we're going to go down, but this is when you decide which measurement or which measuring tool you'll use. For distance, we can measure these in inches or we could measure them in feet, but we're going to choose inches to keep everything the same. Alright, and then I'm going to show you how to measure this when we go over to the video of the activity, but for right now, we're going to measure from the front of the ramp to the back of the car from where it stopped, and then we're going to round to the nearest inch or half inch to keep it clean. Alright, and then for the directions, we're going to place the ramps on a solid floor. It needs to be flat, making sure that all of the bumps are out so that way the cars go over smoothly. Starting with ramp 1 in place, you're going to put the Hot Wheels car at the top of the ramp, making sure it's straight, and then you're going to release it and see how far it travels. You're going to choose your measuring tool that you think is appropriate for how far it went, and then we're going to do the same car. Make sure you use the same car or our results are going to be skewed. And then we're going to do it with ramp 2 and 3 as well. And then you're going to record your results in your notebook. So this is where I'm going to show you how to use your ramps and how to measure them. Alright guys, and this is what our chart's going to look like. I created one on my piece of paper. So then we're going to start off by going on to ramp 1, and we're going to just go from the top, like I said, and release it. And we notice how far it goes, so we're going to measure that. Unfortunately, I don't have a yardstick, but I think a yardstick would be perfect for this distance. But I'm going to use my measuring tape, use the tools that I have. I think the ruler might be too short, so I'm going to go and measure, flatten this out. Okay, I'm going to measure to the end of it, and it looks like it's going to be 53 inches. So I'm going to grab my tape, measure, and grab this. And on my paper, I'm going to fill that out. And remembering that my height of my ramp 1, which we should have already filled in, was 4 inches. and the distance it went was 53 inches. And then the measuring tool that I used was going to be a fabric measuring tape. So I wrote that in. This is what our chart's going to look like. All right. And then we're going to do this again with ramp 2 and 3. So I'm going to grab my car. I'm going to go to my ramp 2. I'm going to put this down. Make sure my ramp is straight so it doesn't go off the hard floor. And let it go. I'm going to measure it to there. And then you might enlist in some help if you had some. This is where your classmates come in handy, or a parent. We're going to get all the way over to here. And this one went 62 inches. So I'm going to grab my paper. I'm going to write 62 inches. And I use the same measuring tape. Now from our ramp 3, remembering that it was 8 inches tall. If you would like, you can use your ruler to measure the height of our ramps just to make sure we have that accurate. So mine's going to be 8 inches. So then we're going to let our cars go down this ramp, making sure that it's going to go straight. Sometimes it falls off. That's okay. We can do it again. There might be some trial and error. Alright, so that one went the furthest, but there was a bump. So we're going to fix this and hope that it goes even further. Alright. One more time. Again, there might be some trial and error. That's all right. I'm going to try this one more time. Make sure your car's straight on the ramp so it doesn't come off at a weird angle. There we go. We're going to measure that one. Just for time's sake. But remember, it might be easier to do it on hard ground. Unfortunately, I just have carpet, so I laid down this paper, which will work just as well. I'm going to measure this. And this one went 65 inches. So I'm going to roll up our measuring tape. We're going to write our last result in our papers. Keeping in mind that we got 65 inches, we used our measuring tape. And this is what our completed chart should look similar to. All right. Now we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. And we're going to move on from our directions since we've already recorded our results in our notebooks. We're going to talk about friction. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. We're going to pause and we're going to write in our notebooks. Why do you think that the cars went farther when you used the longer ramp? I want you guys to discuss that really quick. I'll give you time to pause the video. All right, and we're going to move on. So friction is a force that is stopping an object in motion from going further because the other object is creating a force motion that's stopping. So it's going to be the force between two subjects where the two surfaces are sliding against one another, causing that tension, and it makes the moving object slow down. So the faster the moving object, the longer it'll take to slow down because that friction is going to be weaker. So in your notebooks, these are going to be some questions you'll answer. I'll give you some time to pause again. What ramp was the highest? Which ramp made the car travel the furthest? What is the difference in distance between the longest travel and the shortest travel? So on that one, you're going to take the one that traveled the furthest, and then you're going to take the one that traveled the shortest. You're going to subtract them from our 2, and that's going to be our answer. And then why do you think the cars traveled further than others? Why do you think some cars traveled further than others? And then this is where we're going to pause the video and answer these questions. All right, and then just to debrief, we should have answered our questions and talked about it in our small groups or with our partners. These are going to be our debrief questions. Why is it important to choose an appropriate tool to measure the distance of the car traveled? And then if the ramps were longer and not taller, so if we kept our same 4, 6, and 8-inch ramps, would it have made a difference on the distance of the car traveled, or would it affect the distance the car traveled? And then after we answer these questions, our activity should be over.